When John Wesley preached that sermon about cleanliness back in the 18th century, being next to godliness, cleanliness was a big deal then. Cleanliness tied directly to the quality of life, and it could even be the difference between life and death. He was using it as a call to action for people of that day. And definitely, a focus on cleanliness is good advice for healthy living. But I would suggest that it should not be tied to godliness. And you may be thinking, I am certainly not going to make that same mistake. We live in a different time. And that's probably true. In fact, I doubt any of you have ever seriously tried to link cleanliness with godliness. But what we can tend to do today is slip into replacing the word cleanliness with other words. What do I mean? And this is where the talk will get a little serious. Let me give you some examples of what people might say today, even though they might not say it out loud, or might not even realize what it is they're projecting. They may come across with a view like this. Being a Republican is next to godliness. Or being a Democrat is next to godliness. Does that make you squirm a little to think about that? Yeah. How about this one? Being for gun rights is next to godliness. Or being for gun control is next to godliness. How about this one? Being pro-life is next to godliness, or being pro-choice is next to godliness. Making you feel uncomfortable? I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm saying it's easy to portray that in how we interact with people. In fact, that's my first application point. We have to be very careful to not tie our view on social or political issues with what someone must also believe in order to be considered a Christian. Because I have what might be some bad news for some people. There are going to be both Republicans and Democrats in heaven. And there's going to be both Republicans and Democrats in hell. There are going to be people who are pro-gun rights and and pro-gun control in both heaven and in hell. And there are going to be people who are both pro-life and pro-choice in heaven and in hell. We have to be careful about what we communicate and how we communicate, because when you connect your view on a topic as something fundamental to being a Christian, you are automatically alienating everyone that doesn't share your same view. Why should they seriously consider Christianity if they don't share your view, if that's what you've portrayed? If a non-Christian sees a Christian associating a political affiliation with being a Christian, they'll automatically think that if they don't share that political view, then Jesus isn't for them. Instead, I would challenge you to follow the example that Paul gives in his first letter to the Corinthians. That's my second application point. Seek to find common ground with others, even when you may not see things the same way that they do. It's how Paul tried to handle people that had different views or beliefs than he did. Here's what he said: "Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible." A slave to everyone? Yeah. Even members of the other political party? Yeah. Even people that don't agree with my view on this really, really, really important issue? Yeah. Even them. Even them. Paul was surrounded by competing worldviews. Right? He had legal Pharisees on the one side. He had the Roman Empire that felt that it was divinely appointed on another side. And he had a plethora of pagan deities on a third side. And what did Paul do? He stubbornly refused to take sides with any of them. And what he wrote just a few verses later was his own personal mission statement, and one that I think we can learn a lot from. He says, I have become all things to all people so that by all possible means I might save some.